the war and peace. It was speaking about Russia. So once you start reading, you'll get to know the titles and the subheadings as well as the captions in the paragraph. Once you start reading, what happens, you'll get an idea how quickly you read. So very quickly you'll get the answers. So the king told to Rishi that there were two similar birds behaved differently. Hello everyone, I'm Babita Tamaya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. So in my today's first session of grammar, I'll be taking up reading comprehension. You might be wondering, what is this reading comprehension? What is comprehension all about? So as I know, you might have studied in your 10th or your post-10th. But again, I'll be repeating the same thing here. Comprehension is nothing but reading a sentence or a couple of paragraphs where you extract the meaning or try to understand the paragraph and answer a set of questions. Before I move on to the paragraph or the reading comprehension, I have some strategies as well as some rules and regulations you need to follow. So let's begin the session that is about the reading comprehension. So here, what is there in the store first? So what's comprehension? What is comprehension? So I took a speed reading course and read War and Peace in 20 minutes. It involves Russia. So he took a speed reading course and read what? Read War and Peace in how many minutes? In 20 minutes. Is it possible to finish reading the book in 20 minutes? No. So here it involves what? In that book, The War and Peace. It was speaking about Russia. So Woody Allen, US movie actor, comedian and director. So these words are taken from Woody Allen. He is a US movie actor, comedian and director. So what does it say about comprehension here? Why it is important? What is comprehension all about? Saying the book involved Russia, as Woody Allen did, is not a demonstration of comprehension. It is a demonstration of memorization. What does he say? It is not a demonstration of comprehension. It is a demonstration of memorization. Memorization in the sense, is it possible for you to memorize a couple of paragraphs? No, it is not possible. Then how can you memorize it? You can memorize it by reading and trying to understand so that you can store in your head. That is what he tries to say. Asking one to only recall facts demonstrate the lowest level of assessing a reader's degree of comprehension. So what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to do that we need to recall. After reading the passage, everything will be in your mind. It will be stored in your head. You just need to recall it to answer the questions. So it is not possible for you to memorize a complete paragraph and keep it in your mind. Is it possible? It might be helpful when it stays for a longer time. But here this passage, until you answer the questions, you should be knowing something. You should try to understand what is the paragraph all about. So that what happens once you start reading, you will get an idea. What is the paragraph all about? Then after reading it, you just try to recall the few things there so that it will be easy for you to answer this set of questions. Comprehension is a learning process. What is comprehension? It is a learning process. It is the ability to understand and gain meaning from what has been read and being able to communicate the information to others. It is the reason for reading. So what does it say here? It is the ability to understand and gain the meaning from what you have been read. So once you start reading the paragraph or the sentence, what you have to do? You have to gain the meaning and try to understand the comprehension in depth so that it is possible for you to answer. And being able to communicate this information to others. So once you read it, once you have read the paragraph, you should be able to explain or tell the meaning of that paragraph to other people. So there you will get to know how well you have understood the paragraph, how well you have learned the meaning. So this is how it happens. It is the reason for reading. What it is? Comprehension is the reason for reading. So there are few strategies. What are the strategies here? These strategies I have picked from your textbook. It is from your workbook itself. So strategies that can help students read more quickly and more effectively. So what is the strategies here? So that once you start reading the paragraph, that is more quickly and more effectively. The more quickly you read, the more quickly you can recall the things. So what is the first strategy is? First strategy here, previewing. Previewing or reviewing, it's one and the same. The titles, section headings and photo captions to get a sense of the structure and content of reading selection. So once you start reading, you'll get to know the titles and the subheadings as well as the captions in the paragraph. So it will help for you to answer the questions. Predicting. What is predicting here? Using knowledge of the subject matter to make predictions about content and vocabulary and check comprehension. Using knowledge of the text type and purpose to make predictions about discourse structure, using knowledge about the author to make predictions about writing style, vocabulary and content. So all these things are very important. So what happens when you start reading a paragraph or a couple of sentences, you will improve your vocabulary. You will get to know the vocabulary. If you know the vocabulary, that is the meaning. So it is helpful for you to write. If you find the vocabulary itself, if it doesn't have too many words in your book or in your mind, it is very difficult for you to answer. The next, skimming and scanning. It is very important. Skimming and scanning is very important. Using a quick survey of the text to get the main idea, identify text structure, confirm or question predictions. So here what happens? When you start reading, you will get the idea. Once you start reading, what happens? You'll get an idea how quickly you read. So very quickly you'll get the answers. Most of the times what happens in the sense, most of the students, they'll get the ideas. They know how to read and how to write. Most of the time what happens with the students in the sense, some students are very quick in reading and trying to understand, but they doesn't know the way of presenting it. Some students, they know the way of presenting, but they lag behind to read the comprehension quickly. That is what skimming and scanning. Guessing from context. Using prior knowledge of the subject and the ideas in the text as clues to the meanings of unknown words instead of stopping to look them up. So what is this guessing from the context? So when you start reading the paragraph, there will be a word there. One word will be there where you don't know the meaning of it. What happens? When you don't know the meaning of it, you find it very difficult to move on to the next one. So you will stop it there itself. At that time, what you have to do, when you don't know the meaning of that particular word, you just do one thing. Start reading the sentence from the first till the last line. Again, you keep reading the same sentence so that you might guess it might be that answer. It is a guessing. Most of the time it works out. Paraphrasing. What is paraphrasing here? Stopping at the end of a section to check comprehension by restating the information and ideas in the text. That is about paraphrasing, stopping at the end of the section. So once you start writing the answers, you suddenly stop where you have a confusion. Don't get confused anywhere. Remember, the more you read, the more your vocabulary will grow. So I'm not saying this is there in your textbook itself. The more you read, what happens? The more you read, the more vocabulary will grow. The more words you can collect. So keep reading. Keep saying that. Keep reading. Don't stop reading. Keep reading so that you'll improve your vocabulary as well as you'll collect more and more new words. So there are some rules, there are some don'ts, what you are not supposed to do during the comprehension time. So let's see what are the don'ts here. Do not overemphasize trivialities. Next, do not memorize. It is not possible for you to memorize the complete paragraph. Only the thing is you need to understand and store it in your mind. Only then it's possible for you to answer. Do not read the passage first. Okay, ma'am, you told us not to read the passage first. Then what to do? Without reading the passage, is it possible for you to answer the 10 questions, the set of 10 questions? No, it is not possible. And you're asking us not to read the passage. Then how to go on with it? It is simple. First, you read the passage first, and when you start reading the questions, what happens in the sense here? You'll forget the passage. You'll be not knowing what you have read. So, better you start reading the questions. You have 10 questions. When you read 10 questions, at least you'll remember the first 3 questions. When you remember the first 3 questions, it is easy for you to find the answer in the paragraph. So, before you read, most of the time what happens in the sense, you read the paragraph, but when you come to the question here, you'll just forget the paragraph. So better, instead of reading the paragraph first, read the questions. So when you read the question, at least the first 3 questions will be stored in your mind so that you'll conserve your time. You can write the answer very well. Do not overemphasize on vocabulary skills for RCs. RC is reading comprehension. Don't emphasize, don't break your heads for the meaning or the word. If there is a word given where you don't know the meaning, don't break your heads and waste your time by reading it again and again. Move on to the next question. Do not spend time on RCs, that is reading comprehension, that you cannot comprehend at first. So what happens sometimes, most of the students feels that or says that when they see the question, the first question, they think that the answer will be in the first line itself. When it comes to the last question, they feel that the answer will be there in the last paragraph. Sometimes in the last paragraph, you might find the answer for the question number 1. So don't do that mistake, thinking that the answer for the first question will be in the first line itself. Sometimes it might be, if it is, it's well and good. If not, it will be in the second line or sometimes at the end of the paragraph. So these are the few don'ts here. Now let's move on to the comprehension here. So you have a passage here. So before starting with the passage, let's see the questions, the set of questions. As I told you, don't read the passage first. First try to read the set of questions. Again come back to check what is the answer there. Now let's move on to the question here. So what is the first question? What happened when the storm hit? Where did the 2 birds land? Who came following the deer? So we'll take up only the first 3 questions. So what happened when the storm hit? What is the first question? What happened when the storm hit? Just keep it in mind, storm hit. 2 birds. Where did the 2 birds land when the storm hit? And who came following the deer? Again, back to the paragraph. There once lived a bird and her 2 babies in a forest. One day there was a big storm. The bird was killed when a heavy branch hit the nest. So what happened when the storm hit? When the storm hit, the bird was killed and when a heavy branch hit the nest. So hope you got the answer for the first one. So let's see what is the second question here. Where did the two birds land? Where did it land now? So the birds, a strong wind blew on them to a cave where a gang of robbers lived. The other bird landed outside a Rishi's ashram. So where did the two birds land? One bird landed with a gang of robbers and other outside the Rishi's ashram. So you got the answer for the second question. Moving on to the third one. With the passage of time, the baby birds became big birds. One day, the king of the country came near the cave following a deer. Who came following the deer? It is the king. So, you had three questions in your mind. All the three questions, you got the answer. So, who came back of the deer? It is the king. Now, let's go back to the question again. Let's see what is the fourth question. What did the bird cry out to the king? What did the bird cry out to the king? What did the king hear when he came to Rishi's ashram? Why was the king surprised? So let's go back to the paragraph to find the answer for the fourth question. What did the bird cry out to the king? Suddenly, he heard a voice cry out to hurry up and rob him of jewels and his horse. What did he hurry up? He hurried up to rob the jewels and the horse. You got the answer for the fourth one. The king looked up and saw a big brown bird and heard some noises coming from the cave. The king rode away as soon as he could. Soon he came to the Rishi's ashram. He heard a gentle voice welcoming him to the ashram. So what did he hear? He heard a gentle voice welcoming him to the ashram. What did the king hear? He heard the gentle voice. Look at the question here. What did the king hear when he came to the ashram? So what did he hear? He heard welcoming the king to the Rishi's ashram. Why was the king surprised? The king was surprised to see a big brown bird on a tree. So why he was surprised? He was surprised to see a big brown bird on a tree like the other bird outside the cave. One was on the tree and the other bird was on the cave. He was surprised to see that. What was the king surprised? He was surprised to see the two birds. One bird on the cave and the other bird on the tree. Here it means to say that the bird which has landed into the robber's hand, it learned the same thing. It started to learn. What did it start to learn? It followed the same thing of the robbers. It started to rob the jewels, the horse, that thing it has learned. But the bird which has landed in Rishi's ashram, it had lot of knowledge saying that it welcomed Rishi into the ashram. The bird learned the things what the rishis follow, but here the other bird learned what the robbers followed. That is the difference here. Let's move on to the next question. What made the two birds different from each other? What did the king tell Rishi? So, what did the two birds different from others? So here, just then Rishi entered the ashram, he questioned the king to come inside and share his food. The king told that the two similar birds behaved differently. So two birds are behaving differently. One, the holy man smiled and said, after all, one is known by the company one keeps. The bird living in the company of the robbers behaved. So where he just finds the difference. One bird is the company of the rishi and the other bird is the company of the robbers. So let's see the question next. What did the king tell Rishi? So the king told to Rishi that there were two similar birds behaved differently. What did he say? There are two birds, but both the birds looked different. What did the holy man tell the king of the behavior of two birds? So, what did he say? One bird was brought up by the rishi, the other bird by the robbers. So here, which one of the following sums up the story best? A bird in a hand is worth two in bush. One is known by the company one keeps. A friend in need is a friend in deed. So let's see the answer here. The bird living in the company of robbers behaved like them. The other welcomed the people. So what did the other do? The other welcomed the people. So here what is the answer? Which one of the following sums up the story? One is known by the company one keeps. This will be the answer. So this is how you need to write. Before writing, what you have to do, you need to just read the question. Read the question, then start answering the set of questions. So before reading the question, if you start reading the paragraph and if you try to extract the meaning, it's well and good, but most of the time it's not possible. So first start reading the question, then go back to the paragraph so that it will be easy for you to answer the questions and you consume your time also. Hope I'm clear with this. In my next session, I'll be discussing about articles and prepositions. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.